Hey everyone. So I am building a garden completely from scratch. I'm new here on YouTube. My whole channel is going to be dedicated to this build out of this suburban homestead, as I'm calling it. And I just wanted to walk you through and show you how I've planned out the garden space. So I am starting again, like I said, totally from scratch. There's nothing on this property. There's no trees or nothing. It's just dirt, which has some drawbacks, of course. The soil sucks. So that's going to require quite a bit of work. But the good thing is that I get to design however I want. I get to put the garden in exactly where I want it, get to have things where I want them, how I want them, all that good stuff. Totally customizable. So let's go ahead and dive into this plan a little bit. I'll kind of walk you through how I plan this out, what's going where and why. But basically this is the blueprint for the build out. Now it's going to change a little bit over time. This is probably not totally set in stone. In fact, there's already a couple things that I'm probably going to change, but more or less this is the layout that I'm sticking with. The biggest consideration for me was where is the sun at different times of the day, different times of the year. Where is the sun hitting on this property? So depending on how I flip this in the video, this part up here by the garden rows is north. By the house, that's south. So you can basically think of the sun coming from the house, more or less. So this back part of the lot here, where all of these garden rows are, that is always going to be full sun, no matter what time of year. Some of the parts closer to the house are going to be shaded out in the wintertime. But back here where those rows are, always full sun. So for me, that was the biggest consideration in where am I putting my garden? Where is its location related to sunlight? And because I want that back part with those rows to be what is growing most of the food, that's the area that I want it to be full sun, no matter what. So kind of diving in a little bit to these rows here. Let me zoom in. I've got 2.5 foot by 50 foot rows. These are going to be reserved for high efficiency growing. Now there's a couple things here that I considered when I was planning this out or laying this out. They're 50 feet long because I may want to put on some polytunnels eventually. And if you don't know what a polytunnel is, it's basically just a season extending, it's almost like a greenhouse that can temporarily go up over your rows, over your garden rows. So I've designed these in such a way that I can throw 3 or 4 polytunnels over this entire back part of the garden and get some season extension out of it. You know, that's probably a little ways off, but that is kind of the thought process there with these. So that's the back part of the garden. So let me come down over here to this greenhouse. So the greenhouse, again, that's where I'm going to be doing winter growing. So again, I want the sunshine to be at its most in this area. I want it to be full sun all day long. And it's just on the edge of where it's going to be getting full sun no matter what time of year. So even in the wintertime, we're still going to get full sun in that greenhouse, which is important, obviously. Greenhouse needs to have sun in the wintertime. But it's placed over there, kind of out of the way a little bit, but it should still get plenty of sun. Now close by to that, we have a mini orchard, and this is actually something that I'm going to change. But basically, to the right of that, you can see I've got this pumpkin patch here, and I'm probably just going to swap those locations, basically. So instead of having a mini orchard, the orchard will just be a bigger orchard, and it's just going to be one orchard instead of like 3 fruit trees over here and then 6 over here. You know, we'll have 9 to 10 fruit trees kind of over here by this chicken coop. So kind of transitioning to that chicken coop area, you can see it's right next to the orchard here. And you can also see that it is positioned right in the center of the lot. The reason I did this was, one, I wanted the chicken coop and the chicken run to get sunshine in the wintertime as well. So that's why it's kind of at the back there, just before the garden rows. This area still has full sun. So I want the chickens to have some sunlight, have some warmth in the wintertime because it can get pretty cold here. And so that's reason number one. Reason number two is, this is a suburban area. There's other houses nearby, even though the lots in my particular neighborhood are going to be a lot bigger. The chicken coop is still, the chickens are kind of loud. They can smell. If you keep up on them, they're not going to smell, but, you might catch the occasional whiff. So keeping them in the center here will kind of keep the noise down as well as the smell down, because it's going to just be surrounded by a garden, basically. And then third reason is I've got the orchard right here. So the orchard is going to have a little door to the chicken coop or to the chicken run. And every once in a while, maybe a couple times a week, I'll let the chickens come out and basically free range in the orchard. So the orchard will have some grass. They can go in there, they can dig for bugs, they can eat the grass, get a little bit of free range, get some extra room, give them a little bit better quality of life there. Moving over here to the secret garden, I've got this section kind of planned out for only perennials. The occasional, fruit bush or something like that might make its way in here, but for the most part, it's just going to be perennials, small trees, bushes, flowers. The reasoning being, it'll be fun to have a spot in the garden that's just like this pretty area with flowers and that kind of thing, but its primary purpose is to attract pollinators to the garden. So this will kind of be the area that pollinators will hopefully flock to, and then they can go and pollinate the rest of the garden. On top of that, we're going to eventually have bees somewhere. I don't know where yet, but having that area where there is a bunch of flowers and different perennials and things like that for the bees to go to will also help them and will help honey production as well. So that's the entire intention behind that garden. Then we've got a little patio over here. The patio does serve an essential part of the garden, despite what you might think. Eventually I'll have like a little outdoor kitchen here and hopefully a little processing area for the fruits and vegetables that I'm harvesting. And of course, we'll have that surrounded by perennials and that kind of thing as well. Just kind of adding a little bit of variety and more pollinator attractors to the garden. So next to that, next to the orchard and between the patio and the orchard is a raised garden bed. So basically, all of the rows back here at the back of the garden are going to be in-ground rows. I'm going to have to do quite a bit of amending of the soil to make it better there. It might be kind of rough for the first year or two, but this raised bed garden, we're going to bring in soil right from the get-go that's really good, and we'll be able to grow different varieties of things in here. And the idea behind this raised bed garden is to just have an area that we can kind of have fun with and experiment, and it'll be a more aesthetic food growing section of the garden with those raised beds. And we'll grow some more interesting varieties of things. So in the back, if I'm growing tomatoes, I'm probably going to pick like maybe 4 different varieties to grow across 2 different rows, so I might have like 15 plants of one thing. Whereas in the raised bed garden, I can get a little more experimental and have just a one-off heirloom variety of a tomato that I can kind of experiment with and have fun with. And then, we'll grow some herbs and things like that in this area as well. And, we're just going to have fun with this raised bed garden is basically the point there. So that kind of covers the food production section of the garden. But I'll kind of just brush over the rest of it here because I think it still adds. I'll have a wood shop. That's going to be one of the big projects that I do right off the bat that you'll get to see on this channel as well. I'm going to be building out that wood shop. And, next to that, we'll have another nice big flower bed with perennials and things like that, as well as at the back of the yard here. And, we're going to have grass too. I'm not like a big grass person, but I think there is some benefits to having grass. You got a place for the dogs to run around or the kids to run around. And, I like grass for the most part, but I just don't like watering it, and it's kind of a waste of water. So that's why it's a relatively small section of the yard for that. So then you'll also notice sides of the yard here and the front yard as well. I don't have anything planned. Haven't touched that section. There will be some stuff here I don't know what exactly, if I'll do some more raised beds on the sides of the house here. It'll probably be pretty minimal. But for the most part, that's what that plan looks like. So again, this is probably going to evolve and change over time, but I just wanted to kind of walk you through what my thoughts were. This is the current plan. This is what I'm going to be working on all of 2025 and probably beyond. Quite honestly, I'll be refining it for many years for sure. Let me know in the comments what you think of the plan. Let me know if you see any glaring mistakes or issues. I definitely want this to be semi-permanent in the sense that I don't have to change a whole lot as we go along. I'd like the changes to be minimal. So if you see something that's like, oh no, don't do that, like please let me know. Just let me know your thoughts in general. How would you do it? How would you plan out your garden? And if you want to stick around and see me build all of this out in 2025 and beyond, please like, subscribe, comment down below. However you can support me, get me more views, I'm all for it. But definitely follow along and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.